Sharonville's council meeting. If everyone would please rise, we're going to have a moment of silent prayer and then the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Cunningham. Thank you. Thank you. You can be seated. Roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Coulter?
Here.
Mr. Lovett?
Here.
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mrs. Knight? Here. And Mr. Schmidt?
Here.
Thank you. Approval of minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes of October 25th, 2022? Seeing none, those stand as written and distributed, including all the giggling, as we were just sharing. Reports and communication, Mayor Hardman.
Thank you. I hope you are all planning on joining us here at 7 or 5 o'clock Thursday evening as you do your most important work of the year, and that is let's get our budget done for 2023. We've delivered to you our recommendations from administration, and we thank you all for taking the time to look at that and responding with questions or proposals or other things that you would like for us to take a look at throughout that process. If there are any specific department heads that you would like to be there, please let us know ASAP so that we can make sure that they are there if you have specific questions. Again, if there's something you'd like to know, we ask that you just email and let us know, and email everybody so everybody is included within that loop, because somebody else might have the same question you have. It will help us move the process along on Thursday and be able to appropriately answer questions that you have as we look forward to 2023 and another good year in Sharonville from a financial standpoint. Friday is Veterans Day, so at 3 o'clock we will be having a joint ceremony, as we always do, with the Sharonville Elementary School. And so our part of it will start at 3 down at Patriot Point. So if you are available Friday afternoon, come down and join us as we honor our veterans on Veterans Day. That is what I have for this evening, unless anyone has any questions.
Are there any questions? No? We'll go on to our Safety Service Director, Mr. Lucas.
Thank you. With Friday being Veterans Day, we thought, we thought it would be appropriate to recognize our own city employees who are also veterans. So at some point this week, we'll be hanging out in the hallway 2 plaques. And I'll pass down one this way and the other this way. We have 33 current city employees who are veterans.
Oh,
and
that's amazing.
just when we started this effort, I thought maybe we would have 20 at the most, but we have 33, and just would like to thank Anna Ellerding, working with the department heads to get the most accurate list, and we're going to update that about this time every year to make it the most current. So with that, we'll go into the legislation. Under unfinished business, everything that's being voted on tonight, with the exception of one piece of legislation, Resolution 2022 R22E, was briefly discussed at the last meeting, so I'm wondering that, along with the cover memos, if there's any questions. If you want to hear about any one of those, let us know, but otherwise we'll jump to Resolution 2022 R22E. Steve's here tonight to talk about ODOT's bridge inspection services.
It gives us free bridge inspection from ODOT. No, this is legislation. Typically, it's a 3-year legislation from ODOT. I guess in the last 3-year legislation, they had money left over. I'm not sure how in today's times, but they're extending that for 1 year. Rather than get into new money, they're using that money. I guess they determined they can extend it for 1 year. So this resolution allows us to go accept their legislation for bridge inspection for 1 more year. They intend to do a 3-year program again next year on new money, but that's what's in front of you today. It's a standard their bridge inspection program. So. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions on any of the other unfinished business items?
Over here on this side, did you guys have questions? Because I know you didn't get to hear the discussions unless you watched the,
I heard, we're listening, but no questions from me.
okay, perfect, thank you.
Under new business, there are 5 pieces of legislation this evening. The first one, ordinance 2022-60E, deals with our fee schedule, and John's here to talk about that.
Good evening, City Council. This ordinance, 2022-60E, is actually a follow-up to the zoning code update from earlier this year. The steering committee that worked on that project took a look at the zoning code. There were lots of changes, as you recall, but one of the things was to remove certain fees that are associated with development out of the zoning code and put them into their own chapter in the codified ordinances. And those fees covered building, zoning, development review fees, and also fire department review fees and economic development department review fees as well. So this ordinance would take care of that recommendation and actually create a new chapter in the codified ordinances, which is attached to the legislation. And actually, we went through that and explained the changes at the time, and really there were only 2 changes to the fee ordinance. We reduced some fees and took them down from $50 to $40 and made all residential permits that flat $40 fee because there was just a difference of $10. It was just easier. And the other thing is we eliminated the application fee, which a lot of communities have done, where someone comes in for a building permit, they have to pay that initial fee. And that was something we did because of COVID. It just didn't make sense to, we didn't have people in the office to accept the cash money actually during that time. So we thought it was a good idea just to eliminate that application fee. And just to follow up, what we did is, or previously what we did is we would reimburse that fee when we issued the permit. So we're actually doing a lot of work just to give them the money back. So we just eliminated that. So, but if you have any questions?
Any questions? No? Thank you.
Ordinance 2022-61E deals with Christmas gifts to employees. Through the years, we've had a variety of ways we've approached this. This ordinance puts in place what we've did last year and makes that into the future unless changed by future legislation, basically $50 gift cards to employees. If there's no questions with that. Similar nature, last year, we started reimbursing planning commission members at this time for up to $50, or not up to $50 worth of expenses by providing them a gift card as well. And ordinance 2022-62E does that again.
Perfect.
Ordinance 2022-63E deals with a Ford Expedition at the fire department, and Dan's here to talk about that.
Good evening, all. This may come as a bit of a shock, but there is a supply chain challenge in the United States of America, so I'm glad I could share that with everybody. This Ford Expedition was approved in our 2022 capital. We had previous legislation to actually make this purchase, and we had written within the legislation that we were going to get it through Enterprise. Enterprise is not going to be able to do anything for us in 2023, so we wrote new legislation to allow us to purchase it from a different dealer.
Any questions? Perfect,
Thank
thank you.
And then ordinance 2022-64E deals with a city-owned parcel on Chester Road. Elena's here tonight to talk about that. But before Elena starts, Casey has one update regarding the piece of legislation.
So the title references, after obtaining necessary survey, the general deed that we have, which includes the legal description for the 2 parcels that we're looking to convey to the CIC. It's relatively old, but before obtaining a survey and making that mandatory with the legislation, basically there's nothing in the legislation that I included that mandates getting a survey. So what I'm asking for is a motion from a council member and a subsequent second and vote to excise after obtaining necessary survey from the title to make it non-mandatory. We may end up doing that if the Hamilton County engineer doesn't accept the legal description that's in the last general deed, but why have to do it if we don't have to? Does anybody have any questions about that before Elena gets up there? So at the appropriate time.
Okay.
Thank you.
So some of the history here is that is a small parcel that fronts Chester Road, and I've started to heavily market that site, and I'm talking to interested developers right now. So that's why we're asking to go ahead and move it to the CIC, just to expedite the process.
Anybody have questions? Okay.
And then we are asking for a voice vote tonight to extend the door hours to correspond with our Christmas on the Loop event, similar nature of what we did last year.
Would you please?
I just wanted to give a plug for Christmas on the Loop. We're having that December 10th from 10 to 2, and I've been working on this hard with Anna. We have 18 participating businesses, and we've started to put this poster around town. You might have seen it. And then the ornament for this year is really exciting. Sorry, box. But we just incorporated the logo into the ornament and added the year, and I just think it's a really nice, cute little addition. Yeah, and we've had more businesses participating this year than any other year, so I'm real excited about that.
Oh, good. You're moving the location, right, because of it's going to be behind cliffs, so people see it?
Just because of the construction on Depot Square, we've moved the location that will be behind Cliff Hardware. But it's a lot of the things that we've had in the past, the carriage rides, bounce house, music, face painting, elf balloon artist, and then the ornament. If you're not aware, there's a card, and so they will go to each business, and in each business will have an elf hidden. They'll find the elf. That's how they earn the sticker. You get 12 out of 18 stickers, and you come back for the ornament.
Perfect. Thank you.
And that's it for the legislation this evening.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Lucas tonight? Seeing none, first for my report, I am going to have you look at your calendars that are at your desk. And we are going to go, if you would look at them,
No, they're not.
June 20th will be our June date. After speaking with Scott at length, we were talking about things. Because of the difficulty in getting legislation and things done over the holiday break, and not to make someone work over their holiday break, we're going to move the second meeting will become our budget meeting. So if we need to do any legislation, we can also do that at our budget meeting. And Scott felt like he would like maybe our budget meeting, just tentatively put that down for November 9th. He was looking at that date. The 12th will be our December date. However, if for some reason finance can't get the budget information done, we may have to meet the week of the 18th or with the 26th, 27th, or 28th of that week. So just be prepared for that. Are there any other questions or concerns about this calendar? If not, is there a motion to go ahead, and we'll just go ahead and approve this calendar for next year's dates? So moved by Mr. Lovett, second by Mrs. Knight. Is there any discussion on it at all? Okay, all those in favor, yes?
Yes.
Those opposed, no, and the calendar is accepted. Thank you, Terry. And you did your presentation. I was going to ask you to do that, so thank you very much. I don't have anything else, just reminder that Thursday, again, like the mayor said, I'm thinking I'm making chili. If you don't want chili, bring your own food. And so that's the bottom of that. And if you have any questions, I don't see any, we'll move on to Mrs. Buhite.
Okay. Just mentioning that there were 2 liquor permits that were reviewed and returned to the Ohio Liquor Board. One was for DNU Convenience, which DBA Kemper Quick Stop on 1628 East Kemper Road, and Boilo Foods DBA Scramblers at 4006 Hawk, and those were 2 new ones that were returned. And that's it.
Perfect. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Our Law Director, Mr. Lippert.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. It's our opportunity for residents tonight to be heard.
Tim Schmidt, 12215 Pickwick Place. I just have a question on the DORA extending hours. What day is that?
December 10th,
December 10th, what day of the week?
Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
Yeah, what are the hours? Must be-
The current hours start at noon, we're just extending it to 10 a.m. for the Christmas on the Loop.
Okay, then what, it ends at 5 or something like that?
No, it ends later on Saturdays, like 11.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering, since our property is included in the DORA loop, which,
Anyone else? Council Committees, Community Development, Mr. Wilson.
Yes, there is a meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals tomorrow night at 6:30, followed by a meeting of the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Community Services, Mr. Lovett.
Thank you. No report. Our meeting is next Wednesday, the 16th, and so all are welcome to attend, 4 p.m., so thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Budget and Finance, Mr. Cook.
Thank you. No report for Budget and Finance, and our next meeting for the Project Oversight Committee is December 13th at 6 p.m. in the Administrative Conference Room. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Honored citizens, Mrs. Knight.
Yes, tonight I'm also honoring all our Sharonville veterans. Sharonville has a large population of military personnel who served in the Vietnam War. I don't know if you knew that. So I also remember to come Friday, November 11th at 3 for the ceremony at Patriot Point.
Perfect, thank you. And I received an email, and I was waiting for a response, but I did not get it. One of our former employees, Linda Lutz, shared with me today that her father and one other gentleman are 2 World War II veterans. They're both 96, and they're both mobile. One's in a wheelchair, but he's still getting out. And her father is on a cane walker, and he still gets about. So I just wanted to mention that they are living in Sharonville, and we still have at least 2 World War II veterans, because I know that's very much so a group of servicemen that are going away quickly. So thank you. Law and Public Safety, Mr. Schmidt.
Oh, thank you. The next Law and Public Safety Committee meeting will be next Tuesday, the 15th at 4 o'clock. That's because we moved up the council date. So
Correct.
we're moving up Law Committee also. Thank you.
Thanks. Rule suspension motion, first and only reading with immediate effectivity for ordinances 2022-60E, 2022-61E, 2022-62E, 2022-63E, 2022-64E, and Resolution 2022-R25E. Second and third readings with immediate effectivity, ordinances 2022-57E, 2022-58E, resolutions 2022-R22E, 2022-R23E, and 2022-R24E. Tongue-tied. Is there a motion? So moved by Mr. Tankersley. Second by Mr. Wilson. Is there any discussion? Those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no, and that does carry, and we'll go into unfinished business.
This is the third reading of ordinance 2022-53E, authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into an addendum to the current contract with Swim Safe Pool Management for aquatic operations, extending the contract for 1 year for the calendar year 2023, and approving a fee schedule for that year. And that's the third reading.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2022-53E? So moved by Mr. Cook, second by Mrs. Knight. Is there any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Lovett?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt. 2022-53E has been approved. Ordinance 2022-55, authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract with CT Consultants to provide engineering and site plan review for calendar year 2023, and approving CT Consultants' 2023 fee schedule. That's a second reading. Ordinance 2022-56, authorizing the disposal of 2 surplus pinball machines, Twilight Zone and Whirlwind. That's a second reading. This is a second and third reading of emergency ordinance 2022-57E, authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a job creation incentive grant for Project Doe and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2022-57E? So moved by Mr. Coulter, second by Mr. Lovett. Is there any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Lovett?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt.
Yes.
Emergency ordinance 2022-57E has been approved. This is a second and third reading of ordinance 2022-58E, amending 2022 appropriations in the 401 Capital Fund and authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into agreements for construction monitoring of the Main Street Bridge and dam improvements and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2022-58E? So moved by Mr. Wilson, second by Mr. Tankersley. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Lovett?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
2022-58E has been approved. Second and third reading of Resolution 2022-R22E, authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation to provide for bridge inspection services for 2023.
Is there a motion to pass resolution 2022-R22E? So moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mr. Cook. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Lovett?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Resolution 2022-R22E has been approved.
Thank you.
Second and third reading of Emergency Resolution 2022-R23E, resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to submit an application for a federal land and water conservation grant through the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass resolution 2022-R23E? So moved by Mr. Lovett, second by Mrs. Knight. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Lovett?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Emergency Resolution 2022-R23E has been approved. Second and third reading of Resolution 2022-R24E, resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass resolution 2022-R24E? So moved by Mr. Coulter, second by Mr. Wilson. Discussion? None? Roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Resolution 2022-R24E has been approved. And that's it for unfinished.
Okay, we'll do new business, please.
All right. Ordinance 2022-59, amending codified ordinance 521.13, weed removal to allow for only one notification per calendar year. That's it, just a first reading. So first and only reading of ordinance 2022-60E, enacting Chapter 1309 of the Sharonville Codified Ordinances and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2022-60E? So moved by Mr. Tankersley, second by Mr. Wilson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-60E has been approved. A first and only reading of emergency ordinance 2022-61E, providing holiday gifts for city employees and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2022-61E? So moved by Mr. Cook, second by Mr. Lovett. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Emergency ordinance 2022-61E has been approved. Excuse me. First and only reading of emergency ordinance 2022-62E, providing reimbursement for members of the Sharonville Planning Commission and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2022-62E? So moved by Mr. Wilson, second by Mr. Coulter. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
I'm abstaining, please.
Reclusing.
Her husband's on the planning commission,
Oh,
so she's choosing not to vote for this.
Okay. And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
It's passed.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I thought they were talking about something else.
I don't know what they're talking about.
Okay, and so 2022-62E has been approved.
I'm going to have to punish the people to the left.
Okay.
Just saying.
So, first and only reading of emergency ordinance 2022-63E, authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract for the purchase and subsequent conversion of a new Ford Expedition for the Sharonville Fire Department and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2022-63E? So moved by Mr. Lovett, second by Mrs. Knight. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Coulter?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Emergency ordinance 2022-63E has been approved. First and only reading of emergency ordinance 2022-64E, authorizing the Safety Service Director to convey approximately .802 acres, commonly known as 11250 Chester Road, to the Community Improvement Corporation of Sharonville. Are we omitting that in the title?
Yes, we needed to make
So I don't know procedurally exactly what we should do, but after reading as is, I think at that time, a motion to amend
Okay.
the title would be
amend,
appropriate.
Okay, so I'll start over. Authorizing the Safety Service Director to convey approximately .802 acres, commonly known as 11250 Chester Road, to the Community Improvement Corporation of Sharonville after obtaining necessary survey and declaring an emergency.
Okay. Before we do a motion on this, is there a motion to, Mr. Tankersley?
Yes, I request that we amend this ordinance
Okay. To what Mr.
to what Mr.
Lippert
Lippert
has
had to
said.
say.
Do you want to put it on the record again, please?
Sure. So what you would want to strike is after obtaining a necessary survey. Those 4 words. That's it.
Okay. Is there a second to this motion? So moved by Mr. Schmidt. Is there any discussion on that? All those in favor of the motion, yes?
Yes.
Those opposed, no, and that does carry. Is there a motion to move with the amended ordinance? So moved by Mr. Tankersley, second by Mr. Schmidt. Is there any discussion on the amended ordinance? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Coulter,
Yes.
Mr. Lovett,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mrs. Knight,
Yes.
and Mr. Schmidt.
Yes.
Emergency ordinance 2022-64E has been approved. First reading of Resolution 2022-R25E, resolution declaring intent to conduct internet auctions for the sale of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit city personal property during calendar year 2023 and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass Resolution 2022-R25E? So moved by Mr. Coulter, second by Mr. Tankersley. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Coulter,
Yes.
Mr. Lovett,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mrs. Knight,
Yes.
and Mr. Schmidt.
Yes.
Resolution 20, oh, sorry, that was just a first reading. Shoot,
Oh, was it?
sorry, yeah, I was just on a roll.
We were just talking, Casey and I were just talking, and
I think it's fine. I mean, the fact that it was included in the rule suspension motion,
Yes, it was.
Oh,
so I think it's absolutely fine that it was passed just now as a first and only reading.
That's perfectly fine, yes, it was in that. And it does have an E, so. Does anyone else have a problem with this? Law committee? Nope. Okay, I'm looking to you three. All right, we just passed it.
all right, sorry, yep, okay. 2022-R25E was passed.
You did do roll call, right?
I did, yeah,
Okay.
I did the whole thing.
Yeah, it was. That's what I
We
thought
were on
it
a roll.
was. All righty, there you go. Okay, is there a motion for a voice vote to extend our door hours for our Christmas on the Loop? We're gonna go earlier. We're gonna start the Dora that day at 10 a.m. Mimosas, right? Okay, mimosas. All right, is there a motion to do this? So moved by Mr. Cook, second by Mrs. Knight. All those in favor, yes?
Yes.
All those opposed, no. And that motion does carry. You can start drinking at 10 a.m. on December 10th.
Does Alice have champagne?
I don't know, somebody might want to tell Alice to get some champagne. All right, are there any other matters to be heard before council this evening? Mr. Tankersley?
Just a quick note, received an email from Darren Up, who does the Historic Society. He said that it's been busy, they've been getting a lot of stuff in, and they had one resident make a $300 donation to the Historic Society, and he also found out that they are ranked, believe it or not, which means they're doing a good job, third as a historic society in the state of Ohio.
That's wonderful.
So-
Maybe he could come in sometime and give us a little report on what they're doing.
I will.
That would be great.
I will pass that along,
Thank you.
but I thought I'd share that.
Come on up. Yep, yes. Residents that want to be heard, you can come up and be heard anytime you want.
Well, again, Tim Schmidt, 12215 Pickwick Place. And the one concern I have about the door extending the hours, and I really don't understand, Dora. The part of Dora that includes our property, there is no liquor permits on any of that property. But at 10 o'clock in the morning, there could be a funeral. And if there's people with alcohol walking around the property at 10 o'clock when there's a funeral going on, that could cause a problem.
There's no one probably going to be in your area with alcohol at 10 o'clock. I was down there last year. Nobody was drinking. Actually, I don't think very many people drank at all.
Well-
I saw very few, or if not any, Dora cups walking around. This is just if someone wants to get a Dora cup over it already or at whatever. I don't know, except for maybe Anthenians.
What? They're closed on Saturdays. They have no liquor permit.
So nobody will be down in your area. They're all going to be walking.
Well, people could come down and buy flowers, but if there's a funeral,
Yeah, I doubt that they go down. Is Vern's part of it? Yeah, because they don't allow it. You as a business owner, right?
but as far as Dora, that is included in Dora, so they can be outside.
Tim, people cannot go on your private property with an alcoholic drink unless you invite them to do so.
Yeah.
Even if
So
it's part
the
of the Dora?
No, you are not part, you would be eligible to
If you
welcome
wanted to
folks
allow people
it,
to drink in the funeral
but
home,
they
you
can't
can.
come
Well-
on your private property.
I mean, there are
With-
signs there that say where the door ends.
Yeah, that's
And it-
not,
and it
it
is-
doesn't mean you have free-for-all to walk onto somebody's private property and do whatever you want.
just not
That's
wherever.
not what it means.
No.
I thought where.
I mean, obviously, they can walk down the sidewalk holding a beer, but because that is part of the Dora, so
Then they would
that's
have
the
to
idea.
turn around.
But they can't go onto your property and do that.
But we would have to have somebody there to tell them they're not allowed?
Well, they should know that
Well, that's
as,
what I.
they're trespassing otherwise. They're trespassing on your property.
Because they walk,
Well,
they walk, they drive.
I
there are
don't think it's been an
signs.
issue, and I don't think it's going to be an
Yeah.
issue.
Okay,
And if it does, we will certainly address it.
okay. Thank you.
Any other matters this evening? Oh, good Lord, it's a fearful. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Lovett.
I just want to give a plug. We're coming to the time of the year that the Sharonville Community Fund is gearing up. If anybody knows of any businesses or community organizations that would like to donate to a family, they're starting to collect names and resources to be able to adopt families at this point. For those that don't know, the community fund, I think it was something around 50 to 60 families last year that they adopted and provided Christmas for families within our community. People that may have not had all the means to be able to have their own Christmas. The community fund for years has provided that, and they continue to do that. So they can't do that without the support of, I think we adopted one last year, right? Or
I
we
think
donated gift cards?
We donate gift cards and toys.
Right.
For the extra table.
And I think I'm kind of, for the people out there and listening maybe, just to kind of, if somebody has in their heart or somebody knows of a group that would like to be involved, whether it be church or business or whatever the case may be, they're always looking for volunteer organizations to be able to adopt families. So I just kind of want to put a shameless plug for that, so.
Not a problem, and it's not a shameless plug, and if you want to organize it, I'm more than happy to say council can adopt a family.
If council wants to adopt a
There you
family, I'm
go.
more than happy to organize it. I have no issue with that, and that everybody's welcome to give me their voice on that. I adopt 2 families with my business, so I'm happy to organize a 3rd. That's not a problem.
Okay. If you guys want, go ahead, Ms. Knight. No, I was just saying, if you're interested, we can all give Glenn some
Yeah, just shoot me an email. I'll send an email out and who wants to be involved,
donations.
so yeah.
Okay.
I have two things to bring up. Number one, welcome back this side of the room because it took Vicki the whole meeting to look over here to take our votes. Every time she looked over there.
We
and-
actually did that for a reason, because you guys ain't busy enough over there.
Anyway, well, it took her the whole meeting to look over here first, so welcome back. Also, the senior citizen Christmas dinner will be December 12th at 11 o'clock. So if you would like to come, either contact me or Bethany at the rec center, and she'll get you down. She needs to know by Thanksgiving if you're coming or not. So I think we'll have programs again with singers and stuff, so hopefully Mayor Harmon will come and sing for us. Thank you.
You have to speak with the mayor's agent. She's right there next to him. You know,
Yes,
you have to go through her first.
depends on his schedule. All right, anything else? Is there a motion for adjournment? So moved by Mr. Lovett, second by Mrs. Knight. All those in favor, yes? Those opposed, no, and we do stand adjourned. Thank you.